Joining us now to talk about that, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan. Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for being here.
You bet, Amanda. Good to be with you guys.
Good to see you. I want to start with that memo from last week.
Yeah.
This lowered the threshold and set a new precedent for what effectively seemed to be investigating thought crime. Was that a prevailing attitude in the Biden administration?
Well, we shouldn't be surprised by this because, as you pointed out, this was the same administration that said if you're a mom and dad going to a school board meeting, we need to investigate you. If you're a pro-life Catholic, you're an extremist. And maybe most importantly, this is the administration that tried to set up, actually did set up and then had to stop it, the Disinformation Governance Board. You know, the people, as you said, the thought police telling you what you can say, what you can post, what you can tweet, what you can read. I mean, it's like frightening. And it was because of work like that you guys did, that many of us did, pointing out how ridiculous this was, how contrary to the First Amendment this really was, that they ended up stopping that. So we shouldn't be surprised at the latest piece of evidence that flows right in that same vein.
So I want to ask a little bit, you did so much work to document the censorship machinery. How much of it's been unraveled and what legislative fixes need to be put into the big beautiful bill or elsewhere to make sure it never resurrects its dirty head again?
Well, I think a lot of it's been changed. And you can, people like you, good folks in the media who are highlighting it, work we did, certainly what Elon Musk did. I mean, I think his line was, I forget what it was, but I didn't spend $40 billion to buy Twitter. I spent $40 billion to save the First Amendment. And of course, President Trump's win last November, all that contributed to this. But remember what we uncovered. We finally got, Mark Zuckerberg wrote our committee a letter and said that, yeah, the Biden administration pressured us to censor. We did it. We're sorry. We're not going to do it anymore. And they've subsequently changed policies at Meta where they now go to that community notes approach, much like Twitter does, much like X does, with that Elon is incorporated in that company. So I think we've made tremendous progress. GARM is out of business. The Climate Action 100, all the big people have left that where they were trying to collude and censor and attack companies, all kinds of things that we think we've made a real change in. But we're still concerned about what's going on in Europe, and we're trying to have an impact there because European censorship efforts we think can actually impact on Americans and American companies. So we're looking at that this Congress.
That's important.
Mr. Chairman, John's story that came out this morning regarding the National Endowment for Democracy. Amazing that that's right there in the name. When it comes to censorship, does it feel like for the House it's like playing whack-a-mole? Do you have to actually go after, I mean, maybe it's even an awareness issue. Do you have to find out and provide oversight for all of these different organizations and factions of the government that are censoring, or do you even have to? Maybe it's a game, maybe it's a situation where the message gets sent.
Well, I think it's important we continue to do our oversight duties. I mean, not directly on point there, but one of the things we figured out over the last few weeks, and we actually talked about this last week, was this Pfizer working with the government. We're trying to figure out what kind of connection was there. But remember, back during COVID, you had the government and the people in the bureaucracy working closely with these pharmaceutical companies. But we know at Pfizer, we had 3 of the top research scientists. Dr. Dormitzer was the guy that's sort of been the focus. But they slowed the results down before the 2020 election of their results in studying the vaccine. And, the November 3rd was the election. November 7th, 2020, Joe Biden was named, declared the winner. November 8th, they announced the results. They waited till after the election, according to this guy who 4 years later, when President Trump wins in 2024, tells his then employer, hey, can you send me to Canada? I'm afraid they're going to investigate and find out we slowed down the results. So there's always this concern about big government working with the tech industry, working with the pharmaceutical industry, working with whatever, to go after conservatives and mislead the American people. And our job is to do oversight on all that, and we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, and you've done such great work. I mean, we learned so much just through your work. I want to turn to some surprises that we learned over the weekend from FBI Director Kash Patel, Deputy Director Dan Bongino. They found some more Russia collusion documents. They may have found some more January 6th documents. Can you give us some sense of what sort of information has been flowing from the Trump administration and what it gives new light upon?
Well, we're not ready to announce anything yet, but the one thing I always point out is literally, and I know you guys know this, it's night and day. I mean, literally night and day compared to the kind of response we got from Garland and Wray compared to what we get from Attorney General Bondi and Kash and Dan at the FBI. So They've given us access. We sent a subpoena 8, 9, 10 weeks ago early on, and they've given us all kinds of information that we're evaluating, we're looking at. And then the one thing relative to January 6th that we're really concerned about is these 26 confidential human sources. And we're working closely with them now. That's been a little harder to put together, but they're giving us that information because you got to be careful about the identity of the confidential human source and all. But there are some key questions we have. 26 of them were there on January 6th. 17 of those confidential human sources entered restricted space. 4 went in the Capitol. 2 of the 4 who went in the Capitol were actually asked to be there that day by the FBI. So we want to know how soon they went in the Capitol. Did they go in through a door? Anyone else? What information did they give you? How much had you been paying them? How long had they worked for the government? We want to know all kinds of questions about these individuals. Were any of these individuals as confidential human sources, any of their testimony used to prosecute American citizens? We'd like to know all that. And we're working closely with them, and we continue to get information on that subject.
That's huge. So let me just follow up real quickly. Do we have any sense of what the predicate, what the justification was to send so many informants to what was essentially a political event?
That's a great question, John, because that's scary in and of itself.
Yeah.
Oh, we want people there spying on Americans exercising their First Amendment liberties? That's not supposed to be how it works. I mean, what else was going on? What other kind of surveillance was going on? Was there facial recognition being used that particular day? We don't know any of those things, but we'd like to find out those concerns. And again, why 26 and why just a handful of them were specifically asked to be there? Why did you ask them to be there? Who were they supposedly informing on? Who were they spying on? Because confidential human sources is simply a fancy name for spy.
That's
so
right.
I think there's lots of questions we have, and we want to get the answers to them.
Mr. Chairman, before we let you go, typically passing out of Budget Committee means that it's going to be a successful full floor vote for President Trump's one big beautiful bill. What needs to happen in order for that one big beautiful bill ball to roll down the mountain and hit the floor with such fervor that it's a successful vote?
Well, I think there's a couple things. One, we have some of our good conservative friends who are working on, making sure we have real savings in here, additional savings in the bill. I think that's all good. Let's hope we get that in there. And then you also have some of our other members who are really focused on their constituents back home and this SALT tax and what that means for their constituents. So I get all that. What I think we really need to be doing, though, as Republicans, is talking about how good this bill is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason Democrats hate it. Democrats hate it because it's all about Republican principles. We're the party that says cut taxes. We're the party that says secure the border. We're the party that says we should require work for able-bodied adults who are getting taxpayer money. This bill does all 3 of those. It says to the moms and dads out there, hey, we want to let you keep more of your money to spend on your kids and your grandkids, your goals and your dreams. That's Republican principle, fundamental principle. Money in this bill says we're going to make sure you have the resources, Trump administration, to continue to secure the border after what we went through with Joe Biden. Great principle, what the election was all about. And then, of course, this idea about requiring work for able-bodied adults, getting your money. Well, I mean, that's good for taxpayers. It treats them with respect. It's good for the economy. But most importantly, it's good for the person who's right now not being required. We all know the benefit of work and what that means in a person's life. These are 3 fundamental Republican principles. And instead of out there debating, oh, it doesn't really do this, it's not that. No, this is a great bill because it embraces the principles that we believe in as Americans and as Republicans, and we should go out and talk about those and get this thing passed.
Yeah, important. No doubt about it.
Congressman, thank you so much for being here, Chairman of the House Judiciary
Committee. Thanks for all your good
Committee.
work.
Thank you, Mr.
Take
Chairman.
care.
Yes, sir, absolutely.